At your funeral, people may say you were kind, loyal, patient, and always there for everyone. But no one may ever know how many times you destroyed your own happiness just to keep them comfortable. No one may know how often you swallowed your pain, ignored your intuition, and begged relationships to survive after they had already killed your peace. Buddhism teaches that a life spent abandoning yourself is not love. It is attachment wearing the mask of sacrifice. Before you lose more years protecting people who would never protect your heart, learn how to let go, choose yourself, and finally begin living. 1. Notice where you keep betraying your own truth. Self-abandonment begins when you know that something is hurting you, but you keep pretending that everything is fine. You may notice disrespect, feel emotionally tired, or understand that a relationship is unhealthy, yet you stay silent because you are afraid the person will leave, become angry, or misunderstand you. Sometimes you ignore your own feelings to keep others comfortable. You say yes when you want to say no, accept behavior that makes you feel small, and hide your pain so the relationship does not change. Each time you do this, you move a little further away from yourself. Mindfulness means paying honest attention to what happens inside you. Notice how your body and mind feel around certain people. Do you feel peaceful and safe, or anxious, tired, and afraid to speak openly? Your body often understands the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. Ask yourself where you are pretending, staying quiet, or accepting something that is damaging your peace. Do not blame yourself for what you allowed in the past. Simply see the truth clearly, because the moment you recognize where you are abandoning yourself is the moment you can begin choosing yourself again. 2. Stop confusing love with self-sacrifice. Love does not mean accepting every painful behavior or giving up your peace to keep someone happy. You can care about a person, understand their struggles, and still admit that the way they treat you is hurting you. Forgiveness does not mean giving someone endless chances to repeat the same behavior. Sometimes you believe that staying silent, tolerating disrespect, and always putting the other person first proves how deeply you love them. However, when love constantly makes you feel tired, unimportant, or afraid to express your feelings, it is no longer healthy love. It has become self-sacrifice. Buddhism teaches compassion, but compassion must include you too. You can support someone without carrying all their problems. You can be patient without accepting disrespect, and you can forgive someone without allowing them back into your life. Real love should not require you to lose your identity, ignore your needs, or betray your values. Love others with kindness, but remember that protecting your own heart and peace is also an act of love. 3. Let people be disappointed in your boundaries. Many people abandon themselves because they are afraid of disappointing others. They say yes when they want to say no, stay available when they are tired, and accept behavior that makes them uncomfortable. They do this because they do not want to be called selfish, rude, difficult, or uncaring. You may believe that keeping everyone happy will protect your relationships, but it often creates a different kind of pain. The more you ignore your own needs, the more tired, frustrated, and emotionally empty you become. You may begin to feel angry at people, even though you never clearly told them what you needed. A boundary is simply a clear limit that protects your time, energy, feelings, and peace. It tells people what you can accept and what you cannot accept. Setting a boundary does not mean that you hate someone or want to punish them. It means that you respect yourself enough to be honest. Some people will not like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from you having none. A person who was used to receiving your time at any moment may become upset when you say you need rest. Someone who was comfortable speaking to you disrespectfully may accuse you of changing when you finally ask to be treated properly. Their disappointment does not automatically mean that your boundary is wrong. Sometimes it only means that they can no longer control you in the same way. People may call you selfish when you stop doing everything for them, but protecting yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Buddhism teaches us not to become controlled by praise or blame. If you always need people to praise you, you will keep changing yourself to please them. If you are deeply afraid of blame, you will remain silent even when someone is hurting you. In both situations, other people begin controlling your choices. You do not need to argue, shout, or give a long explanation every time you set a boundary. You can speak calmly and clearly. You can say, "I am not comfortable with that. I need some time for myself." Or, "I will not continue this conversation if I am being disrespected." A healthy person may not always agree with your boundary, but they will try to understand it. A person who only values what you give may become angry when you stop giving so much. Their reaction can teach you something important about the relationship. You must also remember that boundaries require consistency. If you set a limit but remove it every time someone becomes upset, people will learn that your words do not have meaning. You do not need to become cold, but you must remain firm. At first, setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable because you are doing something new. You may feel guilty or worry that people will leave. Allow those feelings to pass without immediately changing your decision. Discomfort does not mean that you are doing something wrong. Sometimes it means that you are finally breaking an unhealthy pattern. Let people feel disappointed if they need to. You are not responsible for managing every emotion they experience. You are responsible for being honest, respectful, and clear. When you stop sacrificing your peace to avoid disappointing others, you begin building relationships based on truth instead of fear. You also begin showing yourself that your needs, feelings, and limits matter. Peace begins when you no longer need everyone's permission to protect it. 4. Release the need to be chosen by everyone. Many people spend years trying to make others choose them. They change their personality, hide their true feelings, and give more than they can afford emotionally because they are afraid of being rejected. They believe that if they become more useful, more patient, more attractive, or easier to handle, someone will finally recognize their value and stay. This need to be chosen can quietly control your whole life. You begin making decisions based on what others may think instead of what feels right for you. You stop speaking honestly because you are afraid that your truth will make someone uncomfortable. You accept less than you deserve because losing the relationship feels more frightening than losing yourself. Sometimes you may even start performing for love. You become the version of yourself that you think another person wants. You laugh when you are hurt, stay calm when you are deeply disappointed, and say that everything is fine when your heart is tired. You may believe this will protect the relationship, but it slowly creates distance between you and your real self. Buddhism teaches that craving creates suffering. Craving does not only mean wanting money, success, or possessions. It can also mean desperately wanting someone's attention, approval, or affection. The more your happiness depends on being chosen, the more power you give to another person. One kind message may make you feel valuable, while one delayed reply may make you feel forgotten. A small sign of attention can give you hope, while a moment of distance can make you question your worth. Your peace begins rising and falling according to someone else's behavior. This is not emotional freedom, it is attachment. You may think that the person has control over your feelings, but the deeper truth is that your need for their approval has given them that control. Their attention becomes a reward, and their silence feels like punishment. You begin working harder for small amounts of care because you are afraid that asking for more will make them leave. But healthy love should not make you beg for basic respect, clear communication, or consistent effort. You should not have to prove your value every day to someone who has already decided not to see it. Some people will never choose you in the way you hope, no matter how much you give. This may be painful to accept, but it can also set you free. Their inability to value you does not mean that you are unworthy. It may simply mean that they are unable, unwilling, or not meant to walk with you. Rejection is not always a judgment of your value. Sometimes it is a sign that a connection is not right for you. Sometimes a closed door protects you from spending more years in a place where you would continue feeling unseen. You must also stop chasing people who only notice your value when you pull away. If someone only becomes kind when they fear losing you, but returns to the same behavior once you stay, they may not truly value you. They may only value your availability. There is a big difference between being loved and being used for comfort, attention, support, or convenience. A person may enjoy what you provide without deeply caring about who you are. This is why you must pay attention to actions instead of holding tightly to words. Ask yourself honestly, do I feel peaceful in this relationship, or am I always trying to earn my place? Can I be myself, or do I have to perform to keep this person interested? Do they choose me with consistency, or only when it is convenient for them? These questions may reveal truths that you have been avoiding. The most important shift happens when you stop asking, "How can I make them choose me?" and begin asking, "Why am I choosing someone who makes me feel unworthy?" This question brings your power back to you. It reminds you that you also have a choice. You are not only waiting to be accepted, you are allowed to decide whether the relationship is healthy enough to remain in your life. Choosing yourself does not mean believing that you are better than everyone else. It means recognizing that your feelings, needs, and dignity also matter. It means no longer offering your heart to people who handle it carelessly. You may lose some people when you stop chasing their approval. Some may leave because they were only comfortable when you were insecure, available, and willing to accept less. Let them go. Their departure may be painful, but it also creates space for healthier connections. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, which does not mean becoming cold or refusing to love. It means loving without losing yourself. It means caring for people without making them responsible for your identity and happiness. You can appreciate someone without worshipping them. You can desire connection without begging for it. You can feel disappointed without deciding that you are worthless. Your value does not increase when someone chooses you, and it does not decrease when someone walks away. Your worth is not decided by another person's attention, mood, or ability to love. Begin choosing yourself in small ways. Speak honestly when something hurts. Stop chasing people who repeatedly ignore you. Give your energy to relationships where respect and effort move in both directions. Spend time building a life that does not collapse when one person becomes distant. The more deeply you know yourself, the less desperate you become for everyone's approval. You begin to understand that being rejected by the wrong person is not a tragedy. Abandoning yourself to keep them would be the greater loss. You do not need to be chosen by everyone. You only need to stop rejecting yourself. When you choose your own peace, truth, and dignity, you become free from the endless need to prove that you are worthy of love. 5. Accept that letting go can be an act of love. Letting go does not always mean that you stopped caring. Sometimes you still love the person, remember the good moments, and wish that things could return to the way they once were. You may still hope they become happier, healthier, and more peaceful. However, deep inside, you also know that staying connected is slowly damaging your own peace. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. You can love someone and still need to leave them. Love alone does not always make a relationship healthy. A strong relationship also needs respect, honesty, trust, safety, and effort from both people. When these things are missing, love can begin to feel like pain, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. Many people remain in unhealthy relationships because they believe leaving means the love was not real. They think that if they truly cared, they should continue trying, forgiving, and waiting. But there is a difference between giving someone time to grow and spending years hoping they will become a completely different person. You may keep holding on because you remember how kind they were in the beginning. You may think about the promises they made, the dreams you shared, or the rare moments when they made you feel deeply loved. These memories can become stronger than the reality you are living now. You may not be holding on to the person as they are today. You may be holding on to who they used to be or who you hoped they would become. Buddhism teaches the truth of impermanence. Everything changes. Feelings change, people change, relationships change, and situations change. Suffering grows when you demand that something temporary remain the same forever. A relationship may have once brought you joy, but that does not mean it must remain in your life forever. Something can be meaningful and still come to an end. A person can have played an important role in your journey without being meant to stay for the rest of it. The problem begins when you keep forcing a finished relationship to continue because you are afraid of the pain of ending it. You may tell yourself that one more conversation, one more chance, or one more sacrifice will finally fix everything. However, if the same pain keeps returning and nothing truly changes, you must stop ignoring what reality is showing you. Words may give you hope, but actions reveal the truth. Someone may promise to change, apologize repeatedly, and tell you that they cannot live without you. But if their behavior remains the same, the apology becomes only a temporary pause before the next wound. Real change is not shown through emotional promises. It is shown through consistent actions over time. Letting go means accepting what is, instead of remaining trapped by what could have been. It means seeing the person clearly, not through the memories, excuses, and hopes you have created around them. Acceptance does not mean that what happened was fair. It does not mean you approve of the way you were treated. It simply means you stop fighting reality. You stop saying, "They should have loved me better," and begin saying, "They did not give me the love I needed, and I cannot continue destroying myself while waiting for it." This kind of acceptance is painful, but it is also freeing. Sometimes people stay because they are afraid that leaving will make the other person suffer. They feel responsible for the person's loneliness, sadness, anger, or problems. They worry that choosing themselves will make them selfish. But you cannot spend your entire life protecting someone from the consequences of how they treat you. If a person repeatedly hurts you and refuses to change, staying may only teach them that your boundaries are not real. Leaving can sometimes be the clearest message you can give. It shows that love does not give someone permission to disrespect, manipulate, or control you. Letting go can also be an act of love toward yourself. It can mean choosing peace over constant confusion, truth over false hope, and healing over repeated pain. You may still miss the person after you leave. Missing someone does not mean you made the wrong decision. It only means the connection mattered to you. The heart can miss what the mind knows is unhealthy. There may be days when you remember only the good moments and forget the reasons you had to walk away. On those days, remind yourself of the whole truth. Do not only remember the apologies, remember what caused them. Do not only remember the happy days, remember the nights when you felt lonely beside someone who claimed to love you. Healing requires honesty about both the beauty and the pain. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, but non-attachment does not mean becoming heartless. It means understanding that love should not become possession, fear, or dependence. You can care for someone without believing that your life must remain connected to theirs forever. You can wish them well without checking on them every day. You can forgive them without reopening communication. You can remember the lessons without returning to the same situation. Forgiveness and reconnection are not the same thing. Forgiveness is something you may do for your own peace. Reconnection is a choice that should only happen when trust, safety, and real change are present. You do not owe someone access to your life simply because you have forgiven them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step away quietly. You do not need revenge, cruel words, or a final argument. You do not need to make them understand every reason. Some people will never fully understand why you left, because understanding would require them to face their own behavior. You may never receive the apology you deserve. You may never hear them admit what they did. You may never get the perfect ending your heart was waiting for. You must learn to create closure without their cooperation. Closure can be the moment you decide that you have suffered enough. It can be the moment you stop waiting for an explanation and begin trusting what their actions already showed you. It can be the moment you choose to protect the future version of yourself. Letting go will create empty space in your life. At first, that space may feel painful and unfamiliar. You may be tempted to return because familiar pain can sometimes feel safer than an unknown future. Do not confuse familiarity with safety. Just because you know how to survive a painful relationship does not mean you should remain inside it. You were not born only to survive emotional pain. You are also allowed to experience peace, respect, stability, and love that does not make you question yourself every day. Give yourself permission to grieve. You are not only grieving the person, you may also be grieving the future you imagined, the promises you believed, and the version of yourself that kept hoping. Do not rush this grief. Let it move through you. Cry when you need to, sit quietly with the sadness, and allow the memories to come without using them as a reason to return. Pain does not always mean you should go back. Sometimes pain is simply part of releasing something that once mattered deeply. As time passes, you may begin to understand that letting go was not the end of love. It was the end of self-abandonment. You stopped asking your heart to remain in a place where it was repeatedly wounded. You chose to love yourself enough to stop accepting what was breaking you. Letting go does not erase the good memories. It does not make the entire relationship meaningless. It simply means you have accepted that the relationship can no longer continue in the same way. You can honor what was good, learn from what was painful, and still move forward. The person may remain part of your story, but they do not need to remain part of your daily life. Some people are lessons, some are seasons, and some are mirrors that show you where you need to heal. Release them without hatred. Release yourself without guilt. You are not betraying love by walking away from pain. You are choosing a form of love that includes your dignity, your peace, and your future. Sometimes love says, "I will stay and work through this with you." But sometimes love must say, "I care about you, but I can no longer lose myself here." Both can be true. You can love someone and let them go. You can miss them and still move forward. You can forgive them and still choose distance. You can be grateful for what you shared without returning to what hurt you. Letting go becomes an act of love when holding on requires you to abandon yourself. 6. Learn to sit with the emptiness after you choose yourself. Choosing yourself can feel powerful when you imagine it, but the reality may feel very different in the beginning. After you stop chasing people, explaining yourself, accepting disrespect, and giving more than you receive, your life may suddenly become quiet. The person you used to speak with every day may no longer be there. The messages may stop, certain friendships may disappear, and the routines that once filled your time may come to an end. This silence can feel uncomfortable because you were used to constantly thinking about other people. You were always wondering what they needed, why they were distant, whether they were upset, or how you could repair the relationship. Even painful connections gave your mind something to focus on. When you finally let go, the emotional noise becomes quieter, but peace may not arrive immediately. At first, the silence may feel like emptiness. You may wake up and feel the absence of the person you left behind. You may reach for your phone without thinking, hoping to see their name. You may remember the way you used to speak, the places you visited, or the plans you made together. Even when you know the relationship was unhealthy, a part of you may still miss what was familiar. Missing someone does not mean that leaving was a mistake. It means that you formed a connection, created habits, and became emotionally attached. Your mind cannot remove those patterns in one day simply because you made a wise decision. Sometimes the heart needs more time to accept what the mind already understands. This is why many people return to painful relationships. They do not return because the person has changed or because the relationship has become healthier. They return because the emptiness feels more difficult than the pain they already know. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar peace. When you know how someone will hurt you, at least the situation feels predictable. You know the arguments, the apologies, the periods of silence, and the temporary moments of kindness. The pattern may be painful, but your mind understands it. A new life without that person feels uncertain, and uncertainty can create fear. However, returning to what broke you will not remove the emptiness. It will only delay your healing. You must learn to sit with the empty space instead of filling it immediately. Do not rush to find another person simply because you feel lonely. Do not return to old connections simply because you miss being needed. Do not search for constant entertainment, messages, or attention to escape your feelings. Buddhism teaches us to observe discomfort without immediately reacting to it. When a difficult feeling appears, the mind often wants to run away. It searches for anything that can provide quick relief. But every time you escape from an emotion, you teach yourself that the emotion is too powerful to face. When you remain still and observe it, you begin to discover that feelings are temporary. Loneliness rises, becomes intense, and then slowly changes. Sadness may feel heavy in the morning, but become lighter by evening. A memory may suddenly make you cry, but after some time, the emotion passes. Feelings move like waves. They come, remain for a while, and eventually leave. The problem begins when you treat every emotion as a command. Feeling lonely does not mean you must contact the person who hurt you. Feeling sad does not mean you made the wrong decision. Feeling afraid does not mean you should return to the situation that damaged your peace. An emotion is a message, but it is not always an instruction. You can listen to your loneliness without obeying it. You can recognize your sadness without allowing it to control your choices. You can feel the desire to return and still choose to remain where you are. This is emotional strength. It is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to feel pain without abandoning yourself again. When you choose yourself, you may also discover how much of your identity was connected to other people. You may have spent years being the helper, the listener, the forgiving one, or the person who always solved every problem. Your sense of value may have come from being needed. When those relationships disappear, you may begin asking, "Who am I if no one needs me?" This question can feel frightening, but it is also important. You are more than the support you give to others. You are more than the problems you solve. You are more than the role you played in someone else's life. Your existence has value, even when you are not rescuing, pleasing, or carrying anyone. You do not have to earn the right to exist by making yourself useful. Some people become uncomfortable when they are alone because silence allows hidden feelings to rise. When life becomes quiet, you may finally notice how tired you are. You may recognize anger you never expressed, grief you never processed, or dreams you ignored while focusing on everyone else. The emptiness after letting go is not creating these feelings. It is revealing what was already inside you. This can be painful, but it is also the beginning of real healing. You cannot heal what you continue to hide from yourself. Sit quietly and ask what the emptiness is trying to show you. Perhaps it is showing you that you depended too heavily on another person's attention. Perhaps it is revealing that you stopped developing your own life. Maybe it is reminding you that you gave away your time, energy, and identity for so long that you no longer know what brings you joy. Do not use these discoveries as reasons to blame yourself. Use them as guidance. You did what you knew how to do at that time. Perhaps you believed that love required sacrifice. Maybe you feared being alone because no one had ever taught you how to feel safe in your own company. You may have learned to measure your worth through how much you could give to others. Now you are learning a different way. You are learning that being alone and being abandoned are not the same thing. Abandonment happens when you leave yourself emotionally, ignore your needs, and silence your truth. Solitude happens when you remain present with yourself, even when no one else is nearby. You can be surrounded by people and still feel deeply abandoned. You can also sit alone in a quiet room and feel safe, connected, and complete. The difference is, the relationship you have with yourself. At first, being alone may feel unnatural because you have not practiced it. You may believe that you need constant conversation, noise, or activity to feel comfortable. Begin with small moments. Sit quietly with a cup of tea. Take a short walk without checking your phone. Eat a meal without distracting yourself. Allow yourself to notice the world around you. Listen to the sound of your breath, the movement of the wind, or the ordinary noises in your home. These simple moments teach your mind that silence is not dangerous. You may discover that peace is quieter than the life you were used to. It does not arrive with dramatic excitement or intense emotions. Sometimes peace feels almost empty because there is no conflict, no chasing, and no fear. If your nervous system became used to emotional chaos, calmness may feel strange. You may even mistake peace for boredom. Give yourself time to adjust. A healthy life does not always create strong emotional highs and lows. It often feels steady, simple, and predictable. At first, this steadiness may seem unfamiliar, but it is where your mind finally begins to rest. Do not create new problems simply because peace feels too quiet. Some people leave a painful relationship and immediately enter another one. They are not looking for love. They are trying to escape the emptiness. They want someone new to distract them from grief, restore their confidence, or prove that they are still desirable. But when you enter a new connection before understanding your old patterns, you may repeat the same pain with a different person. Healing requires a pause. You need time to understand why you accepted less than you deserved, why you ignored warning signs, and why you felt responsible for another person's happiness. Without this understanding, you may continue choosing people who awaken the same wounds. Use this empty season to learn yourself again. Ask what you enjoy when no one else is influencing your choices. Think about the interests you abandoned, the places you wanted to visit, or the goals you postponed. Perhaps you stopped reading, creating, exercising, studying, or spending time with people who genuinely cared for you. Return to those parts of yourself slowly. You do not need to transform your entire life in 1 week. Healing does not require a dramatic beginning. It happens through small choices, repeated with patience. Wake up and make your bed. Prepare food that gives your body strength. Go outside and allow sunlight to touch your face. Read a few pages of a meaningful book. Write down what you are feeling without judging it. Rest when you are tired, instead of forcing yourself to remain productive. These actions may appear simple, but they carry a powerful message. They tell your mind, I am here. I will take care of you. I will not abandon you again. Keeping small promises to yourself rebuilds trust. You may have broken your own trust many times by returning to people you promised to leave, accepting behavior you said you would no longer tolerate, or ignoring your needs to please someone else. Do not hate yourself for this. Begin rebuilding that trust through consistent actions. When you say you need rest, allow yourself to rest. When you decide not to contact someone, honor that decision. When you recognize that a situation is unhealthy, do not argue against your own wisdom. Every time you protect yourself, your inner world becomes safer. The emptiness may also bring grief. You may grieve the person, but you may also grieve the future you imagined with them. Perhaps you believed they would change, you would build a peaceful life together, or the relationship would eventually become what you hoped. Letting go means losing both the person and the dream. This is why the pain can feel so deep. You are not only releasing what happened, you are also releasing what you believed might happen someday. Allow yourself to grieve that future. It mattered to you, even if it never became real. Do not tell yourself that you should already be over it. Healing does not follow a perfect schedule. Some days you may feel strong and free. Other days you may miss the person deeply. This does not mean you are moving backward. Healing is not a straight line. It is a process of remembering, feeling, understanding, and slowly releasing. A memory can return without taking you back to the beginning. When painful memories appear, do not fight them. Notice them gently. Say to yourself, this memory is here, but it is not happening now. Bring your attention back to your breath, your body, and the present moment. The past may visit your mind, but you do not have to live inside it. Buddhism teaches that attachment keeps suffering alive. When you constantly replay what happened, imagine different endings, or wonder what the other person is doing, you remain emotionally connected to the same pain. You may not be speaking to them, but they may still be occupying your thoughts every day. Letting go emotionally requires you to stop feeding the connection. This may mean avoiding their social media, not asking others about them, and not searching for hidden signs that they still care. Every small act of checking may reopen the wound. You may tell yourself that you only want to know how they are doing, but often you are searching for something that will make your pain easier. You want to see that they miss you, regret losing you, or are suffering too. However, your healing cannot depend on what happens in their life. They may move on quickly, they may appear happy, they may never understand the pain they caused. None of this changes the truth of what you experienced or the wisdom of choosing yourself. Do not turn their life into a measurement of your recovery. Your peace must become independent of their regret. The emptiness can also make you question your worth. You may wonder why they did not fight for you, why they replaced you, or why your love was not enough. These questions can keep you trapped in self-blame. Remember that another person's inability to love you well is not proof that you were difficult to love. People offer love according to their awareness, emotional maturity, and capacity. You cannot force someone to give what they have never learned to develop. You can be deeply valuable and still be treated carelessly by someone who does not know how to recognize value. Stop using their behavior as evidence against yourself. Instead of asking, "Why was I not enough?" ask, "Why did I continue giving so much to someone who could not receive it with care?" This question does not blame you. It helps you understand the pattern so you can choose differently in the future. During this season, surround yourself with people who allow you to be honest. You do not need a large group. One safe person can make a meaningful difference. Speak with someone who listens without pushing you to return, rush your healing, or hate the person you left. Healthy support helps you remember your truth when loneliness makes you forget it. However, do not expect another person to remove all your pain. Support is helpful, but the deeper work still belongs to you. You must learn to sit beside yourself in the moments when no one else is available. Speak to yourself kindly. Do not call yourself weak for missing someone. Do not insult yourself for staying too long. Do not say that you wasted your life. You were learning through an experience you did not fully understand at the time. Wisdom often arrives after pain reveals what love should never require. Use what happened to become wiser, not colder. You do not need to build walls around your heart. You need to build better boundaries around your life. The goal is not to stop loving. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself while you love. As you sit with the emptiness, you may begin to notice something unexpected. The silence that once frightened you starts becoming peaceful. You no longer wake up anxious about another person's mood. You do not spend your day waiting for a message, fearing an argument, or trying to prove your worth. Your mind begins to feel lighter because it is no longer carrying constant confusion. This is the moment when emptiness begins turning into space. Space to think clearly, space to rest, space to understand yourself, space to meet healthier people, space to create a life that is not built around emotional survival. You were not left with nothing. You were given room to begin again. At first, this room may look empty because you have not filled it with your own dreams, routines, values, and experiences. Be patient with the process. A meaningful life is built slowly. Begin asking what kind of person you want to become, not who you need to become to impress others, but who you want to be when no one is watching. Perhaps you want to become calmer, more disciplined, more honest, or more compassionate. Maybe you want to build a healthier body, learn something new, create meaningful work, or reconnect with your spiritual life. Use your energy to move toward these things. The love and attention you once poured into another person can now be directed toward your own growth. This does not mean becoming selfish. It means creating balance after years of neglecting yourself. When you care for yourself, you become less likely to accept relationships that demand your destruction. You begin recognizing peace because you have created it within your own life. You also become more careful about whom you allow close to you. You stop being impressed by intense attention and begin valuing consistency. You stop confusing emotional excitement with genuine love. You pay attention to how someone behaves over time. A healed person does not only ask, "Do they like me?" They also ask, "Do I feel safe, respected, and free to be myself around them?" This wisdom grows during the quiet season. Do not rush to escape it. The emptiness after choosing yourself is not a punishment. It is a transition between the life you left and the life you are creating. You are standing between an old identity and a new one. The old version of you survived by pleasing, chasing, and sacrificing. The new version is learning to speak honestly, rest without guilt, and protect inner peace. This transition can feel confusing because the old life no longer fits, but the new life has not fully formed. Stay patient. A seed looks inactive beneath the soil, but something important is happening where no one can see it. In the same way, your healing may not always look dramatic from the outside. You may simply be learning not to send a message, not to return, and not to betray your own truth. These quiet victories are changing your life. Every day, you remain loyal to your healing. You are proving that you can survive the silence. Every time you allow loneliness to pass without returning to pain, you are becoming emotionally stronger. Every time you choose peace over familiarity, you are building a new relationship with yourself. Eventually, you will look back and understand that the emptiness was not the end of your story. It was the place where you finally stopped living for other people and began discovering your own life. You will realize that the silence did not destroy you. It introduced you to yourself. Sit with the emptiness long enough, and you will begin to hear your own voice again. You will remember what you want, what you believe, and what kind of life feels honest to you. Do not be afraid of the space that appears after you let go. Protect it, learn from it, and slowly fill it with peace. You are not waiting for someone else to return. You are returning to yourself. 7. Build a life you no longer need to escape from. Healing is not complete when you simply walk away from the people who hurt you. Leaving an unhealthy relationship may create distance from the pain, but real change begins when you build a new life that does not repeat the same patterns. You must learn how to create peace within yourself, protect your time, respect your needs, and make choices that feel honest. Many people leave one painful situation but carry the same wounds into the next one. They change the person, but they do not change the pattern. They still ignore warning signs, fear rejection, accept disrespect, and believe they must earn love through sacrifice. Without deeper healing, the same lesson may return through a different relationship. This is why choosing yourself must become more than one decision. It must become a daily way of living. Every morning, you have another opportunity to show yourself that your life matters. You can begin by noticing how you speak to yourself. If your inner voice is constantly cruel, critical, and impatient, you may continue searching for kindness from people who are unable to give it. You will keep waiting for others to say the words you refuse to say to yourself. Begin speaking to yourself with patience. When you make a mistake, do not call yourself foolish or weak. Remind yourself that you are learning. When you feel tired, do not shame yourself for needing rest. When you feel emotional, do not tell yourself that your feelings are a burden. The way you speak to yourself becomes the emotional home you live in every day. Buddhism teaches that the mind shapes the quality of your life. If your mind is filled with self-hatred, fear, and constant judgment, even a peaceful environment may feel unsafe. But when you train your mind to become calmer, more compassionate, and more aware, you can face difficulty without completely losing yourself. Building a better life begins with creating safety inside your own mind. You may have spent years breaking promises to yourself. You promised that you would stop returning to a painful person, but loneliness made you go back. You promised that you would speak honestly, but fear made you remain silent. You promised that you would take care of your health, protect your energy, or follow your dreams, but you continued putting everyone else first. Each broken promise may have weakened your trust in yourself. Do not try to repair this trust with one dramatic change. Rebuild it through small actions. If you promise yourself that you will rest tonight, then rest. If you decide not to respond to disrespect, remain quiet. If you say that you will spend 30 minutes working on your own goal, keep that commitment. Small promises may seem unimportant, but every promise you keep tells your mind, I can depend on myself. This trust becomes the foundation of a peaceful life. You must also look carefully at your daily habits. A life filled with constant noise, unhealthy routines, emotional chaos, and no personal direction can make you feel disconnected from yourself. When every day is only about reacting to messages, solving other people's problems, and escaping your thoughts, you never create time to understand what you truly need. Begin creating simple routines that support your well-being. Wake up without immediately checking what everyone else is doing. Sit quietly for a few minutes and notice your breath. Drink water, move your body, and prepare yourself for the day with care. These actions are not small when you have spent years neglecting yourself. They are signs that your life is becoming important to you again. Buddhist practice reminds us that ordinary moments can become meaningful when we give them full attention. Washing your face, preparing tea, walking outside, or cleaning your room can become acts of mindfulness. You do not need a perfect life to begin feeling peaceful. You need to become present in the life you already have. When your mind is always living in the past, you remain connected to old pain. When it is constantly worrying about the future, you create suffering around events that have not happened. The present moment is where you can actually make a different choice. Ask yourself, what can I do today that will make my life feel a little safer, healthier, and more honest? You do not need to solve your whole future at once. You only need to stop abandoning yourself in the choice that is directly in front of you. Building a better life also means learning to protect your time. Your time is not an endless resource that everyone is allowed to use. Every hour you give to someone who drains you is an hour you cannot give to your healing, your purpose, or the people who genuinely care for you. This does not mean becoming selfish or refusing to help others. It means recognizing that your energy has limits. You cannot constantly pour from an empty mind and expect to remain peaceful. Learn to pause before saying yes. Ask yourself whether you truly have the time, strength, and desire to help. Do not agree simply because you fear being judged. A thoughtful no can be more honest than a resentful yes. The people who respect you may feel disappointed sometimes, but they will understand that you have your own needs. The people who only value your usefulness may become angry when you protect your time. Their reaction will help you see the difference. A better life also requires better relationships. You may have become used to connections where you were always the one making the effort. You sent the messages, repaired the conflicts, offered support, and forgave every mistake. Because this pattern was familiar, you may have mistaken it for love. Healthy relationships do not require one person to carry the entire emotional weight. Care should move in both directions. You should feel able to speak honestly without fearing punishment, silence, manipulation, or abandonment. Pay attention to how people respond when you express a need. Do they listen, or do they immediately make the situation about themselves? Do they respect your boundaries, or do they try to make you feel guilty? Do they celebrate your growth, or become uncomfortable when you become stronger. A person's reaction to your healing reveals their true place in your life. Some people will support the new version of you. Others may keep trying to pull you back into the role that benefited them. They may remind you of your old mistakes, question your changes, or accuse you of becoming distant. Do not shrink simply to make your growth easier for them to accept. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become more careful, more peaceful, and more selective about who receives your energy. Growth will sometimes create distance between you and people who are committed to remaining the same. Let that distance happen naturally. You do not need to hate them, argue with them, or prove that you are right. You can simply recognize that not everyone is meant to continue with you into the next stage of your life. Buddhism teaches us to let go without anger. Anger may feel powerful for a moment, but it keeps you emotionally connected to the person or situation. When you constantly replay what someone did, imagine revenge, or wait for them to regret losing you, they still have space inside your mind. Your healing should not become another way of remaining attached. Do not build your new life to make someone jealous. Do not improve yourself only to prove that they made a mistake. If your growth depends on their reaction, they are still controlling your direction. Build your life because you deserve to experience peace, purpose, health, and dignity. Let your success become something personal, not a message sent to the past. You may never receive an apology. The person may never admit what they did. They may create a different story that makes them appear innocent, and you appear difficult. This can feel unfair, especially when you know how much pain you carried quietly. But your peace cannot depend on everyone understanding your side. You know what you experienced. You know how many times you tried, how much you gave, and what it cost you emotionally. You do not need to continue presenting evidence to people who have already chosen not to understand. Sometimes closure is not receiving the right words from another person. Closure is deciding that you no longer need those words in order to move forward. This decision brings your power back. You must also create goals that belong to you. When your life has revolved around keeping people, you may have forgotten what you wanted for yourself. Your dreams may have become smaller because you were always waiting for someone else's approval, support, or presence. Ask yourself what kind of future would feel meaningful even if no one applauded it. Perhaps you want to improve your health, build a creative project, learn a skill, travel, save money, deepen your spiritual practice, or create a peaceful home. Your goal does not need to impress anyone. It only needs to feel honest. Choose one direction and begin slowly. Do not wait until you feel completely confident. Confidence often appears after you start, not before. Take one small action, then another. Every step toward your own future helps you move further away from the identity that was built around pleasing others. There will be days when motivation disappears. On those days, rely on discipline and self-respect. You do not need to feel inspired to keep a promise to yourself. You only need to remember why the promise matters. A better life is built through ordinary choices that are repeated even when no one is watching. You must also learn how to rest without feeling guilty. If you were valued mainly for what you provided, rest may feel uncomfortable. You may believe that you are wasting time or becoming lazy whenever you stop helping, working, or solving problems. But rest is not a reward you receive only after complete exhaustion. It is a basic need. Your mind cannot heal while it remains constantly overstimulated. Your body cannot feel safe if it is always prepared for the next conflict. Give yourself moments where nothing is required from you. Sit in silence, sleep enough, step away from conversations that are draining you. Allow yourself to have a day that is not productive, but is deeply restorative. Buddhism does not teach endless pressure. It teaches balance. Too much attachment to achievement can create another form of suffering. You may leave one unhealthy relationship and then begin abandoning yourself through constant work. You may try to prove your worth by becoming successful, disciplined, or perfect. Be careful not to turn healing into another performance. You do not have to become extraordinary to deserve peace. You do not need a perfect body, career, relationship, or spiritual practice before you are allowed to respect yourself. Your worth is not a prize you earn through improvement. Growth should come from care, not self-rejection. Exercise because you value your body, not because you hate it. Work toward your goals because your future matters, not because you are trying to prove that you are better than everyone else. A peaceful life is not built through punishment. It is built through consistent care. You may also need to change your environment. A cluttered, chaotic, or uncomfortable space can make your mind feel heavier. You do not need an expensive home to create peace. Begin with what you have. Clean one corner. Open a window. Remove objects that keep you emotionally trapped in the past. Create a small place where you can sit quietly, read, write, or breathe. Your environment should remind you of the life you are creating, not only the pain you are leaving. Sometimes keeping old messages, photos, gifts, or reminders can make healing more difficult. You do not have to destroy everything in anger. You can place these things somewhere out of sight until they no longer control your emotions. Let your home become a place where your nervous system can finally rest. Building a better life also means learning to enjoy your own company. You may have spent so much time trying to be chosen that you never learned how to feel complete when you were alone. Begin taking yourself seriously. Go for a walk because you want fresh air. Visit a peaceful place without waiting for someone to join you. Prepare a meal with attention instead of treating yourself like an inconvenience. When you enjoy your own presence, you become less likely to accept poor treatment simply to avoid loneliness. You realize that being alone in peace is better than being connected in constant pain. This does not mean you no longer need people. Human connection is important, but connection should add warmth to your life, not become the only reason your life feels valuable. When you create meaning within yourself, you can love others without holding them too tightly. You can appreciate their presence without fearing that their absence will destroy you. This is the freedom of non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop demanding that another person carry your entire emotional world. You understand that relationships may change, but you will still remain connected to your own path. A better life also requires forgiveness, but not the kind of forgiveness that sends you back into the same pain. Forgiveness means releasing the desire to keep carrying anger every day. You may never forget what happened, and you do not need to. Memory can protect you from repeating the same mistake. But you can remember without allowing resentment to control your life. When anger appears, notice it. Understand that it comes from pain. Then ask whether holding it is helping you heal or keeping you tied to the past. Forgiveness may happen slowly. Do not force it. Begin by deciding that you no longer want another person's actions to decide the emotional quality of your future. That decision is enough to begin. You must also forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for ignoring the warning signs. Forgive yourself for staying too long. Forgive yourself for returning after promising you would not. Forgive yourself for giving love to people who did not know how to handle it. You did not make those choices because you wanted to suffer. You made them from fear, hope, attachment, loneliness, or the understanding you had at the time. Now you know more. Use that knowledge to choose differently instead of using it as a weapon against your past self. Your past self does not need more punishment. That version of you needs compassion. They were trying to survive, trying to be loved, and trying to keep something that felt important. Honor that version by building the life they did not yet know how to create. As you heal, you may begin noticing how peaceful your life becomes when you are no longer constantly managing someone else's emotions. You will have more mental space, more energy, and more clarity. At first, this peace may feel unfamiliar. You may even feel tempted to create new drama because chaos once made you feel alive. Do not confuse peace with emptiness. A calm life may not always feel exciting, but it allows you to breathe, think, and grow. Choose stability over emotional intensity. Choose consistency over promises. Choose people whose actions make you feel safe, instead of people whose unpredictability keeps you constantly alert. Your nervous system deserves relationships that do not require constant recovery. A better life does not mean that pain will never return. People may still disappoint you, plans may fail, and difficult seasons may come. The difference is that you will no longer abandon yourself when they do. You will know how to pause, listen to your feelings, and make choices that protect your dignity. You will stop chasing people who have clearly chosen distance. You will stop begging for explanations from those who repeatedly avoid honesty. You will become your own safe place. This does not happen overnight. There will be moments when old habits return. You may feel tempted to over-explain, seek approval, or ignore a boundary. When this happens, do not believe that all your progress is lost. Notice the pattern and choose again. Healing is not never making the old mistake. Healing is recognizing it more quickly and returning to yourself sooner. Each time you choose yourself, the new path becomes stronger. Eventually, you will no longer need to remind yourself constantly not to chase, beg, or tolerate disrespect. Self-respect will become natural. Peace will feel more familiar than chaos. You will notice that your life is no longer organized around keeping people who are unsure about you. It will be organized around your values, goals, health, relationships, and spiritual growth. This is what it means to begin a better life. A better life is not necessarily a perfect life. It is a life where you can be honest. It is a life where you do not need to become smaller to be accepted. It is a life where your boundaries are respected, your efforts have direction, and your mind has room to breathe. It is a life you do not need to escape from. You no longer spend every evening trying to recover from the people you allowed too close. You no longer wake up fearing someone's mood or waiting for a message that will decide how you feel. You begin waking up with your own purpose. You may still remember the people you had to release. There may still be moments when you miss them, but you will also recognize how much of yourself you recovered after they left. You will understand that their absence created space for your truth, peace, and future. Do not rush the life you are building. Strong foundations take time. Continue choosing what is healthy, even when it feels slower than the chaos you once knew. Keep your promises. Protect your mornings. Care for your body. Train your mind. Choose honest relationships. Work toward goals that belong to you. Rest when your spirit becomes tired. These simple choices will slowly create a life that feels like home. One day, you will look around and realize that you no longer need someone else's attention to feel complete. You will no longer feel afraid of being left because you know that you will not leave yourself again. This is the deepest form of security. People may come and go, but your relationship with yourself will remain. When that relationship is built on honesty, compassion, discipline, and respect, you can face change without losing your center. Let go of the life where your peace depended on other people's choices. Choose the life where your peace grows from the choices you make for yourself. You do not need to chase a better life somewhere far away. You begin creating it each time you speak honestly, protect a boundary, keep a promise, release resentment, and choose what brings you closer to your true self. Stop waiting for someone to save you from the life you helped create through fear and self-abandonment. You now have the awareness to create something different. Build slowly, choose wisely, and remain patient with yourself. The life ahead of you does not need to look like the life behind you. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to become someone who no longer begs for love, fears solitude, or sacrifices inner peace to keep temporary people. Build a life that respects the person you are becoming, and you will no longer need to escape from yourself. 8. Create a future that feels like your own. After spending years changing yourself to keep other people, you may not know what kind of future you truly want. Your decisions may have always been shaped by someone else's needs, expectations, moods, or approval. You may have chosen where to go, what to do, what to tolerate, and even what to dream about, according to the people around you. When you finally choose yourself, you are not only leaving an unhealthy pattern behind, you are also receiving the responsibility of creating a new direction. This can feel exciting, but it can also feel frightening because you are no longer following a life that someone else planned for you. You must now ask a question you may have avoided for years. What kind of life would feel honest to me? The answer may not appear immediately. When you have spent a long time abandoning your own desires, your inner voice can become quiet. You may know exactly what everyone else wants, but struggle to explain what you want. You may understand how to support another person's dreams while feeling uncertain about your own. Do not become frustrated with yourself. Your voice has not disappeared. It has simply been ignored for so long that you must learn how to listen to it again. Begin by noticing what brings peace to your mind. Think about the moments when you feel calm, alive, creative, and connected to yourself. Perhaps you feel peaceful while reading, walking in nature, creating something, learning a new skill, helping others in a healthy way, or spending time in silence. These moments offer small clues about the life that belongs to you. A future that feels like your own does not need to impress everyone. It does not need to look successful according to society. It does not have to include the same achievements, relationships, possessions, or lifestyle that other people are chasing. Your life is not required to follow someone else's definition of happiness. Buddhism teaches that comparison creates unnecessary suffering. When you constantly compare your journey with another person's life, you stop seeing the path directly in front of you. You may begin chasing things you do not genuinely want, simply because they appear valuable to everyone else. You may pursue money without knowing what you want to use it for. You may seek attention without understanding why you need to be noticed. You may enter relationships because you are afraid of being alone, not because the connection is peaceful or healthy. A life built through comparison may look impressive from the outside while feeling empty within. This is why you must become honest about what truly matters to you. Ask yourself whether your current goals come from inner purpose or from the fear of being judged. Ask whether you are moving towards something meaningful or simply trying to prove your worth. There is nothing wrong with wanting success, comfort, recognition, or connection. The problem begins when you believe these things will finally make you worthy. If you build your future from the belief that you are not enough, every achievement will only provide temporary relief. You will always need another accomplishment, another person's approval, or another sign that you matter. Build your future from self-respect instead of self-rejection. Work towards success because you want to use your abilities fully, not because you are trying to silence people who doubted you. Improve your health because your body deserves care, not because you hate the way you look. Develop your mind because wisdom gives you freedom, not because you need to feel superior to others. The intention behind your actions shapes the peace you experience while taking them. You must also give yourself permission to change direction. Perhaps the life you once wanted no longer feels right. Maybe you followed a certain path because your family expected it, a partner wanted it, or society praised it. You may have spent years building something that no longer reflects who you are becoming. Changing direction does not mean that you failed. It may mean that you have finally become honest. Buddhism reminds us that everything changes. Your interests, understanding, priorities, and needs will not remain the same forever. Holding tightly to an old identity can create as much suffering as holding tightly to an unhealthy relationship. You are allowed to release a dream that no longer feels like yours. You are allowed to outgrow a role, career, friendship, belief, or version of yourself. You are allowed to begin again without explaining your entire journey to everyone. Some people may not understand your new direction. They may remind you of who you used to be or question why you are changing. They may become uncomfortable because your growth changes the role you played in their lives. Do not return to an old identity simply because it is familiar to others. The people who genuinely care about you will want your life to become more honest, even if your choices are different from what they expected. Those who only valued your obedience may try to make you feel guilty. Listen respectfully, but remember that you are the person who must live with the consequences of your decisions. Other people may give advice, but they will not wake up inside your mind every morning. They will not carry your regret if you ignore your truth. They will not experience the quiet sadness that comes from living a life that does not belong to you. You must become responsible for your own direction. Responsibility does not mean controlling every result. You cannot guarantee that every decision will succeed. You cannot avoid every mistake, disappointment, or unexpected change. Responsibility means making the most honest choice you can with the awareness you have today. Then, when new information appears, you adjust without attacking yourself. Fear may still be present when you begin creating a different future. You may fear failure, loneliness, judgment, or uncertainty. You may wonder whether you are strong enough to build a life without depending on the people you once placed at the center of everything. Do not wait for fear to disappear before you begin. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing not to let fear make every decision for you. You can feel uncertain and still take one small step. You can feel afraid and still remain loyal to yourself. The future is not created through one perfect decision. It is created through small choices, repeated over time. One honest conversation can change the direction of a relationship. One clear boundary can protect years of peace. 1 hour spent developing your skills can begin a new opportunity. One decision to stop returning to what hurts you can transform your emotional life. Do not underestimate small beginnings. You may believe that your future requires a dramatic plan, but most meaningful change begins quietly. It begins when you wake up and choose not to check on the person you are trying to release. It begins when you use your time for your own growth, instead of waiting for someone's attention. It begins when you save a small amount of money, read a few pages, take a short walk, complete one important task, or speak to yourself with kindness. These actions may not look powerful, but they slowly create a different identity. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you keep a promise to yourself, you become someone who can trust their own word. When you protect a boundary, you become someone who values peace. When you continue working despite discomfort, you become someone who does not abandon their future because today feels difficult. Your habits are building a life even when you are not thinking about them. This is why you must choose them carefully. A future that feels like your own also requires you to decide what you will no longer carry. You cannot move freely while holding old guilt, resentment, regret, and responsibility for everyone else's happiness. Some burdens do not belong to you. You are not responsible for fixing every person who refuses to help themselves. You are not responsible for making someone understand the value of your love. You are not responsible for staying available to people who only contact you when they need something. You are not responsible for sacrificing your health, purpose, and peace to protect others from discomfort. Release what is not yours. This does not mean becoming uncaring. It means understanding the difference between compassion and emotional responsibility. You can support someone while recognizing that their healing belongs to them. You can offer advice without forcing them to follow it. You can care deeply while allowing people to experience the results of their own choices. When you stop carrying everyone, you regain energy for your own journey. Think about how much time you have spent worrying about what other people think, replaying conversations, waiting for messages, or trying to understand someone who repeatedly confused you. Imagine directing that same energy toward your health, work, creativity, learning, and spiritual growth. Your future may not require more energy than you already have. It may simply require you to stop giving that energy to the wrong places. Protect your attention, because your attention shapes your life. Whatever you think about repeatedly becomes emotionally important. If you spend every day watching someone else's life, your own goals will remain neglected. If you constantly replay the past, you will have less mental space to create something new. Bring your attention back whenever it wanders into comparison, regret, or imagined conversations. Ask yourself, what needs my attention now? Perhaps your body needs movement, your room needs order, your work needs focus, or your mind needs silence. Respond to the life directly in front of you, instead of constantly living inside thoughts about another person. The present moment is where your future is being built. You may also need to become comfortable with slow progress. After years of pain, you may want your new life to change immediately. You may expect healing, confidence, and success to appear quickly because you have already suffered for so long. But suffering does not guarantee instant results. Growth still requires patience. A tree does not become strong because it desperately wants to grow faster. It becomes strong by receiving light, water, and time. In the same way, your future needs consistent care more than emotional pressure. Do not dig up the seed every day to check whether it is growing. Continue doing what supports your development, even when the results are not yet visible. Keep learning, keep practicing, keep protecting your peace, keep making choices that match the person you want to become. There will be periods when it seems that nothing is changing. These quiet periods are often where the deepest transformation is happening. You may be learning to respond calmly instead of reacting. You may be becoming less desperate for approval. You may be slowly losing interest in people and situations that once controlled your emotions. These changes may not receive applause, but they are creating freedom. A future that belongs to you must also include healthy relationships. Choosing yourself does not mean living without love or becoming completely independent from everyone. It means creating connections where you do not have to disappear. You deserve relationships where you can speak honestly, make mistakes, have needs, and maintain your individuality. You deserve to be around people who do not require constant sacrifice as proof of your loyalty. Healthy love gives you room to grow. It does not become threatened by your success, boundaries, friendships, or personal goals. It does not demand that you choose between the relationship and your identity. It does not punish you for needing space or rest. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you feel respected, calm, and understood, or confused, guilty, and emotionally exhausted? Your feelings are not the only measure of a relationship, but they provide important information. Do not ignore repeated patterns simply because you want the connection to work. You cannot build a peaceful future with people who continuously bring you back into chaos. Some relationships can improve through communication and effort, but others only continue because you refuse to accept what they are showing you. Wisdom means knowing the difference. Give people a fair opportunity to communicate, take responsibility, and change. But do not give endless access to someone who repeatedly proves that your pain does not matter to them. Your future deserves protection. You must also protect it from your own old habits. The greatest danger may not be another person returning. It may be the part of you that still believes love must be earned through suffering. Old patterns may try to guide you toward familiar situations. You may feel attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable because chasing them feels normal. You may distrust calm relationships because peace feels unfamiliar. You may mistake anxiety for excitement and inconsistency for deep connection. Pause when a new relationship creates the same feelings as an old wound. Ask whether you are experiencing love or repeating a pattern. Give yourself time to observe the person's behavior before giving them complete access to your heart. Trust should grow slowly through consistency. You do not need to reveal everything, sacrifice everything, or commit immediately to prove that your feelings are genuine. Healthy connection allows time. It does not pressure you to abandon your boundaries. As you create your future, practice becoming the kind of person you hope to meet. If you want honesty, become honest. If you want consistency, become consistent. If you want calm communication, learn to speak without manipulation or cruelty. Do not only demand from others what you refuse to develop within yourself. Healing includes taking responsibility for the ways your own fear may have affected relationships. Perhaps you became controlling because you were afraid of being left. Maybe you avoided difficult conversations, expected others to read your mind, or remained silent until resentment became anger. Recognizing your mistakes does not mean accepting responsibility for someone else's harmful behavior. It simply means becoming aware of what you can improve. Self-respect and self-honesty must exist together. You are not choosing yourself when you believe you are always right. You are choosing yourself when you become willing to see your own patterns clearly and correct them without hatred. Buddhism teaches awareness without harsh judgment. Notice where you acted from fear, attachment, pride, or anger. Then choose a wiser response next time. The goal is not perfection. The goal is freedom from unconscious behavior. Your future should also include a deeper sense of purpose. Without purpose, it becomes easy to place one person at the center of your entire life. Their attention becomes your excitement, their mood becomes your weather, and their presence becomes your reason to keep going. Purpose gives your energy a wider direction. Purpose does not need to be a grand mission that changes the world. It may be caring for your family without abandoning yourself, creating meaningful work, developing wisdom, helping others through your experience, or living with honesty and compassion. Purpose is anything that gives your life meaning beyond receiving attention. When you have a direction, you become less willing to waste years chasing people who are uncertain about you. You understand that your time is connected to something valuable. You begin asking whether a relationship supports your purpose or constantly pulls you away from it. This does not mean treating people as obstacles. It means refusing to lose your entire direction inside one connection. Love should walk beside your purpose, not replace it. You must also learn to celebrate your progress without waiting for others to recognize it. Some of your greatest victories will be invisible. No one may know how difficult it was not to return to someone. No one may see the effort required to rebuild your confidence or calm your mind. Do not believe that progress only matters when it is praised. Honor the days when you chose peace instead of conflict. Notice when you responded differently to an old trigger. Appreciate the small moments when you felt comfortable in your own company. These are signs that a new life is already forming. Keep a record of your progress if it helps you remember. Write down the boundaries you protected, the habits you maintained, and the lessons you learned. On difficult days, read these reminders instead of believing that nothing has changed. Your mind may focus naturally on what is missing. Train it to also notice what is growing. Gratitude does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even during an incomplete journey, something valuable exists. You may not have reached your final goal, but you have stopped walking in the wrong direction. You may not feel completely healed, but you no longer accept every behavior you once tolerated. You may still experience loneliness, but you are learning not to use it as a reason to abandon yourself. This is progress. There will still be difficult days in the future. Choosing yourself does not protect you from every loss, rejection, failure, or painful change. Buddhism does not promise a life without suffering. It teaches you how to meet suffering without creating more of it through attachment, resistance, and self-abandonment. When life changes, return to your breath. When someone leaves, allow yourself to grieve without deciding that your life has lost all meaning. When a plan fails, learn from it without attacking your worth. Your strength will not come from controlling everything. It will come from knowing that you can remain present with yourself through uncertainty. You will no longer need every person to stay because you will trust yourself to survive change. You will no longer beg everyone to understand you because you will understand your own truth. This inner stability is greater than any temporary approval. Create a future where your happiness does not depend entirely on one person, one opportunity, or one result. Build several sources of meaning. Care for your body, develop your mind, create honest relationships, follow purposeful work, and protect moments of silence. When one part of life changes, the whole of you will not collapse. Balance creates emotional strength. Do not make your future so crowded with goals that you forget to live. Peace is not only waiting at the end of your achievements. It can exist while you are building, learning, resting, and beginning again. Notice ordinary beauty. Enjoy your food, sunlight, music, conversation, and quiet mornings. Do not postpone your entire happiness until everything becomes perfect. The future is important, but your life is happening now. A meaningful future is created by living the present moment with awareness. One day, you may look back at the person you were when you kept abandoning yourself. Do not judge that version of you. Remember how afraid they were of losing people, how deeply they wanted to be loved, and how little they understood about boundaries. Offer compassion to that past self. They survived long enough for you to become aware. They carried pain until you were ready to learn from it. You do not need to remain trapped by their decisions, but you can honor their journey by refusing to repeat what broke them. Become the person they needed. Become someone who listens to your feelings, protects your peace, and does not disappear to make others comfortable. Become someone who understands that love should never require complete self-erasure. As you grow, some people may say that you have changed. They will be correct. You are becoming more honest. You are no longer accepting every demand, chasing every distant person, or explaining yourself to everyone. You are learning to use your energy with wisdom. Change is not always betrayal. Sometimes refusing to change would be the real betrayal of yourself. Allow the old version of your life to end. Do not keep reopening closed doors to see whether the pain is still there. Do not return to people simply to prove that you are stronger now. You do not need to test your healing by entering the same fire. Protect what you have rebuilt. Let the lessons remain, but release the need to repeat them. Your future does not need to be created through anger toward the past. Anger may give you energy for a short time, but it cannot provide lasting peace. Build from clarity, not revenge. You do not need to become successful so someone regrets losing you. You do not need to become happier to prove that they failed to destroy you. When your life is still directed toward their reaction, you remain emotionally attached. Let your future become private, meaningful, and free. Work quietly. Heal honestly. Grow because your life deserves your full attention. Eventually, you will understand that choosing yourself was not one dramatic moment. It was thousands of small decisions. It was saying no without guilt, walking away without hatred, resting without feeling useless, and continuing without receiving an apology. It was refusing to turn loneliness into a reason to return to disrespect. It was learning that peace may feel unfamiliar before it feels safe. It was becoming patient with the slow rebuilding of your identity. These choices will create a future that looks different from your past. You will begin attracting people who respect the person you have become because you will no longer make space for those who only value your self-abandonment. You will recognize unhealthy behavior sooner and trust yourself enough to respond. Most importantly, you will stop treating your own life as something that must be delayed until everyone else is satisfied. Your dreams will no longer wait at the end of someone else's demands. Your peace will no longer depend on whether someone approves of your boundaries. Your worth will no longer rise and fall according to another person's attention. You will belong to yourself. This does not mean becoming closed, selfish, or distant. It means loving from a place of wholeness instead of fear. You can give without emptying yourself, support without becoming responsible for everything, and remain close to others without losing your own direction. That is the balance Buddhism encourages. Create a future where you wake up knowing that your daily choices reflect your values. Create relationships where honesty is safer than silence. Create routines that care for your mind and body. Create work that uses your abilities and gives your effort meaning. Create space for rest, reflection, and spiritual growth. Your better life may not arrive all at once. It will appear gradually through the peace you protect, the habits you build, the people you release, and the truth you finally allow yourself to live. Do not wait for someone else to give you permission. The people you tried to keep may never understand why you had to choose yourself. They may tell a different story, blame you, or act as though your boundaries were the problem. Let them have their understanding. Your task is not to control their story. Your task is to stop betraying your own. Walk forward without needing everyone to agree with your direction. Carry the lessons, but leave the shame behind. Keep your heart compassionate, but give your peace strong protection. The future ahead of you is not asking you to become a completely different person. It is asking you to become the person you were before fear taught you to disappear. Return to your truth, values, dreams, and inner voice. You have spent enough time building a life around people who were uncertain about you. Now build one around the things that make your spirit feel awake, peaceful, and free. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Choose the path that allows you to respect the person you see within yourself. A better life begins when you stop asking where everyone else wants you to go and finally listen to the direction your own truth has been showing you. Create that future patiently, protect it wisely, live it honestly. This time, do not leave yourself behind. 9. Stop waiting for permission to choose yourself. Many people know that they need to change their lives, but they keep waiting for permission. They wait for someone to understand their pain, approve their decision, accept their boundary, or admit that they were treated unfairly. They believe they will finally move forward when everyone agrees that choosing themselves is the right thing to do. But that moment may never come. The people who benefited from your silence may never support your honesty. The people who became comfortable with your sacrifices may never celebrate your boundaries. Someone who repeatedly ignored your feelings may not suddenly understand why you need distance. If you wait for everyone to approve your healing, you may remain trapped in the same pain for years. Choosing yourself requires accepting that some people will misunderstand you. They may call you selfish because you are no longer always available. They may say that you have changed because you no longer accept the behavior you once tolerated. They may accuse you of becoming cold when you stop carrying problems that were never yours to solve. Their opinion does not always reveal the truth about your character. Sometimes it only reveals that your growth no longer benefits them. You must learn to separate guilt from responsibility. Guilt makes you believe that another person's disappointment automatically means you have done something wrong. Responsibility asks whether you acted honestly, respectfully, and wisely. You can disappoint someone without harming them. You can say no without being cruel. You can leave an unhealthy relationship without becoming a bad person. You can protect your peace even when someone wishes you would continue sacrificing it. Other people are allowed to feel disappointed, but you are also allowed to make decisions that protect your life. Buddhism teaches that attachment to approval creates suffering. When your peace depends on being praised, understood, or accepted, you give control of your life to changing opinions. One person may support your choice, while another criticizes it. If you follow every voice, you will lose your direction. Praise and blame are both temporary. Today, people may praise your kindness because you give them everything. Tomorrow, those same people may criticize you when you become exhausted, distant, or resentful. You cannot build a stable life around unstable opinions. You must develop an inner place where you can listen to advice without surrendering your judgment. This does not mean believing that you are always right. It means becoming calm enough to consider what others say, learn what is useful, and release what comes from manipulation, fear, or misunderstanding. Ask yourself whether the decision supports your values, health, dignity, and peace. Ask whether remaining in the situation requires you to keep betraying yourself. Ask whether you are choosing from wisdom or reacting from anger. When your decision comes from clarity rather than revenge, You do not need everyone to agree with it. You may still feel guilty when you begin choosing yourself. This is normal, especially if you were taught that being good means always putting others first. You may feel uncomfortable resting while someone wants your help. You may feel cruel for creating distance from a person who depends on you emotionally. But discomfort is not always a warning. Sometimes it is simply the feeling of breaking an old habit. For years, you may have trained yourself to respond immediately whenever someone needed you. You may have believed that your value came from being useful, forgiving, patient, and available. Saying no now feels wrong because it conflicts with the identity you created. Allow yourself to feel the guilt without obeying it. Notice it quietly. Ask what it is trying to protect. Perhaps it is protecting you from rejection, conflict, criticism, or loneliness. Thank the feeling for trying to keep you safe, but do not allow it to decide your future. You can feel guilty and still make a healthy choice. The mind often prefers familiar suffering because it understands how to survive it. A new boundary creates uncertainty. You do not know how people will react, who will remain, or what your life will look like when you stop placing everyone else first. This uncertainty may tempt you to return to old behavior. You may say yes after already saying no. You may apologize for a boundary that did not require an apology. You may contact someone because their silence makes you uncomfortable. Each time this happens, do not attack yourself. Notice the pattern and choose again. Self-respect is not built by never making mistakes. It is built by returning to your truth each time fear pulls you away from it. You may also be waiting for closure before giving yourself permission to move on. You believe you need one final conversation, a complete explanation, or a sincere apology. You hope the other person will admit what they did so you can finally feel free. But people do not always provide honest endings. Some will deny the pain they caused. Some will blame you for reacting to their behavior. Others may disappear without explanation, leaving you with questions that never receive answers. You must not hand your future to someone who has already shown that they cannot handle your feelings with care. Closure can come from understanding that their actions were enough information. Their inconsistency was an answer. Their repeated disrespect was an answer. Their unwillingness to communicate honestly was an answer. You may not receive the words you wanted, but reality may already have shown you what you needed to know. Accepting this can feel painful because the mind wants a clean ending. It wants every question answered and every misunderstanding corrected. Life does not always offer this kind of completion. Sometimes peace begins when you stop demanding that the past explain itself. You may never understand why someone treated you badly after you loved them sincerely. Their reasons may come from their own fear, selfishness, immaturity, or unhealed wounds. Understanding those reasons would not change what happened. Do not spend your future searching for an explanation that cannot repair the past. Use your energy to understand yourself instead. Ask why you remained after the pattern became clear. Ask what you feared losing. Ask what part of you believed that accepting pain was better than facing loneliness. These questions can help you heal because their answers are within your power. Choosing yourself also means allowing people to experience the consequences of losing access to you. You may feel tempted to continue helping them after you have created distance. You may answer every call because you feel responsible for their comfort. But if you continue giving the same support after setting a boundary, the relationship has not truly changed. Sometimes distance must be clear enough to be felt. This is not punishment, it is honesty. You are no longer pretending that the relationship can continue normally while your heart is being damaged. You are allowing your actions to match your truth. A boundary without action is only a request. If someone repeatedly ignores your limit, you may need to reduce contact, leave the conversation, or step away completely. You do not need to threaten them, you simply need to follow through calmly. People learn how seriously you value yourself by watching whether you protect the limits you set. At first, this may feel harsh, because you are used to explaining yourself repeatedly. You may believe that if you find the perfect words, the person will finally understand. But someone who respects you does not need endless explanations to stop hurting you. A person may disagree with your feelings, but they should still care that their behavior affects you. If they keep debating your pain instead of changing the behavior, more explanation may not solve the problem. It may only give them more opportunities to dismiss, confuse, or manipulate you. You are allowed to stop explaining. Silence can become a form of wisdom when words are repeatedly used against you. Distance can become an act of compassion when continued contact creates anger, resentment, and emotional harm. Buddhism teaches right speech, which includes speaking truthfully and wisely. But right speech also means recognizing when a conversation is no longer useful. You do not need to attend every argument you are invited into. You do not need to defend your character against every false story. You do not need to convince someone who has already decided to misunderstand you. Protecting your peace sometimes means allowing people to believe what they choose. This can be difficult because you want your name, intentions, and heart to be understood correctly. You may feel desperate to correct the version of the story they tell others, but trying to control every opinion will keep you emotionally tied to the same situation. Live in a way that reflects your values. Over time, your consistent behavior will matter more than one person's description of you. The people who know your heart will not require endless proof, and those committed to misunderstanding you may reject every explanation anyway. Let go of the need to win every emotional trial. Your life is not a courtroom where you must constantly prove that your feelings are valid. You experienced what you experienced. You felt what you felt. You observed the pattern. You are allowed to respond to it. You may also need to stop asking people for advice when you already know what your truth is. Sometimes you keep explaining the situation to many people because you hope one of them will give you permission to stay. You may present only the good moments, hide the worst behavior, or defend the person while describing how deeply they hurt you. This happens because part of you is still attached to the relationship. Advice can be valuable, but it cannot replace honesty. Notice whether you are seeking wisdom or searching for someone to support the decision you already want to make. If your heart knows the situation is unhealthy, collecting more opinions may only create confusion. Spend time in silence. Let the emotional noise settle. When you are no longer reacting to fear, loneliness, or anger, your deeper understanding often becomes clearer. The truth usually speaks quietly. Attachment speaks urgently. Attachment says you must act now before the person leaves forever. Wisdom says you can pause and observe. Attachment says one kind message means everything has changed. Wisdom remembers the full pattern. Attachment focuses on potential. Wisdom looks at repeated behavior. Learn to recognize these different voices. When you choose yourself, you may lose people who only knew how to relate to the version of you that had no limits. This loss can hurt, even when the relationship was unhealthy. You may miss the familiarity, shared memories, and sense of connection. Do not use grief as evidence that your decision was wrong. You can grieve something and still know it needed to end. You can miss someone and still recognize that their presence was damaging your peace. Two truths can exist together. The mind often wants a simple story where one person is completely good and the other is completely bad. Real relationships are more complicated. Someone may have shown you kindness and also caused deep pain. They may have loved you in the limited way they understood, while still failing to treat you well. You do not need to erase the good memories in order to leave. You only need to stop using them to excuse repeated harm. A few beautiful moments do not automatically create a healthy relationship. Look at the whole experience. Ask how you felt most of the time. Did you feel secure or constantly uncertain? Did you feel respected or repeatedly diminished? Did the relationship help you become more yourself, or did it require you to disappear? Your answer deserves to guide your decision. Giving yourself permission to leave also means accepting that you may not feel completely ready. Many people wait for the moment when they no longer care, no longer feel afraid, and no longer experience doubt. That perfect moment may never arrive. You may need to choose yourself while still loving the person. You may need to walk away while part of you still wants to stay. You may need to protect your peace before your emotions fully understand the decision. Courage often looks like moving forward with a shaking heart. Do not expect yourself to feel powerful every day. Some days you will feel clear, while other days you may question everything. On difficult days, return to the reasons you chose yourself. Write them down if necessary. Remember how the relationship affected your sleep, confidence, energy, and emotional stability. Remember the promises that were repeatedly broken and the conversations that never led to lasting change. Do not allow temporary loneliness to erase long-term truth. Your mind may romanticize the past when the present feels empty. It may highlight the laughter and hide the anxiety. This is why healing requires balanced memory. Remember what was beautiful, but also remember what it cost you. You are not choosing yourself only for the person you are today. You are also protecting the future version of you. Imagine what will happen if you continue the same pattern for another year, 5 years, or 10 years. Will you become more peaceful or more exhausted? Will your confidence grow or continue disappearing? Will the relationship improve through consistent mutual effort or remain alive only because you keep sacrificing yourself? Sometimes the most compassionate decision is the one that prevents future suffering. Buddhism teaches that wise action considers consequences. It does not only seek immediate comfort. Returning may reduce loneliness tonight, but it may reopen months of pain. Saying yes may avoid conflict today, but it may create resentment tomorrow. Choose the action that supports lasting peace, not only temporary relief. This requires patience because lasting peace often feels uncomfortable in the beginning. A boundary creates conflict before it creates calm. Letting go creates grief before it creates freedom. Healing creates emptiness before it creates space for something new. Trust the process, even when you cannot yet see the final result. You must also give yourself permission to want more from life. Perhaps you became used to receiving the smallest amount of effort and treating it as something extraordinary. A simple apology, one kind message, or a short period of attention felt powerful because you had been emotionally neglected. When someone gives you very little for a long time, small gestures can feel like great love. Raise your understanding of what healthy connection looks like. Consistency should not feel like a rare reward. Respect should not appear only after conflict. Communication should not happen only when the person fears losing you. You are allowed to desire relationships where love is calm, clear, and mutual. This does not mean demanding perfection. Everyone makes mistakes and experiences difficult periods. The difference is whether both people take responsibility, communicate honestly, and make real effort. Healthy love may still have challenges, but it does not require one person to keep disappearing. Give yourself permission to stop calling emotional survival love. You are not difficult for wanting honesty. You are not demanding for expecting respect. You are not selfish for needing time, space, rest, and emotional safety. These are reasonable human needs. The wrong people may make your normal needs feel excessive because meeting them requires effort they do not want to give. Do not reduce yourself to match someone's limited capacity. Accept what they can offer, but also decide whether it is enough for the life you want. You cannot force someone to become more emotionally mature. You cannot love them into accountability or sacrifice them into consistency. Change must come from their own awareness and effort. Your responsibility is to see clearly and choose wisely. Sometimes choosing yourself means staying and having an honest conversation. Sometimes it means changing the relationship, reducing access, or leaving completely. There is no single decision that fits every situation. The important thing is that your choice comes from awareness rather than fear. Do not stay only because you are afraid of being alone. Do not leave only to make someone chase you. Do not create a boundary as punishment or use silence as manipulation. Act with clarity. Ask what decision allows you to remain honest, compassionate, and respectful toward yourself. Then accept that even a wise decision may cause pain. Pain is not always proof that you chose wrongly. Some pain comes from growth. A tree experiences pressure as its roots push deeper into the ground. Your life may also feel difficult while you are becoming stronger and more stable. Do not return to a smaller version of yourself simply because growth feels unfamiliar. You may be surprised by how many parts of your life begin changing once you give yourself permission to choose yourself. You may begin speaking more honestly at work, protecting your time with family, and becoming more careful about friendships. Self-respect spreads. Once you understand that your needs matter, you stop accepting situations that require constant self-neglect. You begin noticing where you have been overgiving, over-explaining, and asking for permission. This awareness may create temporary conflict, but it also creates a more truthful life. Some relationships will improve because honest boundaries allow mutual respect to grow. Other relationships may end because they depended entirely on your silence. Both outcomes provide clarity. Do not measure the success of a boundary only by whether the relationship survives. Sometimes a boundary succeeds by revealing that the relationship was not capable of becoming healthy. Truth may remove people, but it also removes confusion. You will begin recognizing that peace is not always the absence of conflict. Sometimes peace comes after you face necessary conflict and stop living a lie. Avoiding every difficult conversation may keep the surface calm while your inner world remains disturbed. Real peace requires honesty. Speak respectfully, but speak clearly. Do not hide your needs inside vague hints and then become disappointed when people fail to understand. Say what is true without attacking the other person. You can say, "This situation is hurting me," without saying that the other person is completely terrible. You can say, "I need distance," without trying to make them feel guilty. Clear communication is part of choosing yourself. After speaking, observe what happens. Do they listen with care, take responsibility, and work toward change? Or do they dismiss you, blame you, or temporarily improve until they feel safe enough to return to the same behavior? Let actions answer what words cannot. Do not keep negotiating with repeated evidence. There may come a moment when you realize that the only permission you were waiting for was your own. No one was physically stopping you from leaving, resting, saying no, or beginning again. The real prison was fear. Fear of judgment, fear of loneliness, fear of regret, fear that choosing yourself would make you unlovable. Look at these fears gently. They are not your enemies. They developed because some part of you wanted safety, belonging, and love. But fear cannot always recognize what is healthy. It may guide you back toward familiar pain, because familiar pain once felt safer than uncertainty. Thank fear for trying to protect you, then choose from wisdom. Tell yourself that you can survive being misunderstood. You can survive someone's disappointment. You can survive a period of loneliness. You can survive beginning again. What you should no longer accept is a life where you repeatedly abandon yourself to avoid these temporary feelings. You have already survived many moments you once believed would destroy you. You survived rejection, silence, disappointment, and endings. You are stronger than the fear that keeps telling you not to move. Trust the evidence of your own life. You may not know exactly what comes next, but you know what continuing the same pattern will create. Sometimes that knowledge is enough. You do not need a complete map before leaving a road that is clearly taking you away from yourself. Take one honest step. That step may be having a conversation, turning off your phone, refusing a request, ending contact, seeking support, or finally resting. It may look small to others, but it can represent a major change within you. Each honest step, becomes permission for the next one. Eventually, choosing yourself will no longer feel like rebellion. It will feel natural. You will no longer need to prepare a long explanation every time you protect your peace. You will understand that kindness and boundaries can exist together. You can have compassion for someone's pain without allowing them to transfer that pain into your life. You can love deeply without becoming responsible for everything. This balance is not selfishness, it is wisdom. A peaceful person does not say yes to everyone. They understand that every yes carries a cost. Saying yes to one person may mean saying no to rest, health, purpose, or another important responsibility. Choose your yes carefully. Do not give away your life in small pieces and then wonder why you feel empty. Your time, attention, and emotional energy are parts of your life. Where you place them determines what your future becomes. Give them to people, habits, and goals that support your growth rather than constantly consuming it. You are allowed to become selective. This does not mean judging everyone harshly or expecting perfection. It means observing who treats your heart with care. Not everyone deserves the same access to you. Some people may belong close to you. Others may belong at a respectful distance. Some may need to be released completely. Wisdom is not only knowing how to love. It is also knowing where love can be offered without becoming self-destruction. As you begin choosing yourself, remain humble. Self-respect should not become pride. Do not use your healing to look down on people who are still trapped in their own patterns. Remember how difficult it was for you to see clearly. Offer compassion where possible, but do not confuse compassion with returning. You can understand why someone behaves as they do, and still decide that their behavior is not healthy for your life. Understanding explains behavior. It does not excuse repeated harm. You may forgive someone in your heart and still keep the door closed. This is one of the deepest lessons of letting go. Forgiveness does not always restore the relationship. Sometimes it only releases your anger so you can move forward without carrying the person inside your mind. Let forgiveness protect your heart, and let boundaries protect your life. You do not need to announce every decision. Some of the strongest changes happen quietly. You stop responding immediately. You stop explaining the same pain. You stop chasing, proving, and returning. Your energy begins moving toward your own life. People may notice the difference. Some will respect it. Others will test your boundaries to see whether you truly mean what you say. Remain calm and consistent. You do not need to become aggressive. Consistency is stronger than anger. When your actions repeatedly match your words, people learn that your self-respect is no longer temporary. Most importantly, you learn that you can trust yourself. You become someone who listens when your heart says something is wrong. You become someone who does not need to reach complete exhaustion before taking a step back. You stop waiting until the damage becomes unbearable. This is how wisdom protects you. It does not remove every painful experience, but it helps you recognize when to pause, speak, and leave. It helps you stop confusing patience with self-neglect. There will always be people who believe you should give more, stay longer, and accept less. They are free to hold that belief. You are free to choose differently. Your life is not a public decision. You do not need a vote before protecting it. Listen to wise advice, examine your own intentions, and then make the choice you can live with honestly. You may make mistakes. You may set a boundary too late, or trust the wrong person again. This does not mean you have failed. Return to awareness. Every experience can deepen your understanding when you stop using it to attack yourself. The goal is not to become impossible to hurt. The goal is to stop participating in your own abandonment. You cannot control who leaves, misunderstands, or disappoints you. But you can control whether you keep leaving yourself to make them stay. That is where your freedom begins. One day, you will understand that choosing yourself did not make you lose the right people. It revealed which people were able to love you without requiring your disappearance. Those who genuinely care will not demand that you destroy your peace to prove your loyalty. They will respect your limits, listen to your truth, and accept that you have a life beyond the relationship. And even when healthy people disagree with you, they will not use your vulnerability as a weapon. Choose relationships that allow both people to remain whole. Until those relationships arrive, do not treat solitude as failure. It is better to walk alone with self-respect than remain surrounded by people who require you to betray yourself. Your own company can become a place of healing rather than punishment. Use it to understand your values, strengthen your habits, and build a life that no longer depends on constant approval. The more meaningful your own life becomes, the less desperate you will feel to keep everyone in it. You will appreciate connection without clinging to it. You will love without begging. You will give without completely emptying yourself. You will understand that people can be important without becoming the center of your identity. This is emotional freedom. Stop waiting for someone to say that you are allowed to rest. Stop waiting for the person who hurt you to agree that you deserve better. Stop waiting for everyone to understand why you changed. Give yourself the permission you have been searching for. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to leave what repeatedly hurts you. You are allowed to protect your energy, create distance, and begin again. You are allowed to build a life that feels peaceful even when others preferred the version of you that was easier to use. Choose yourself without hatred. Choose yourself without revenge. Choose yourself because your life also deserves your loyalty. You have spent enough time asking whether everyone else is comfortable with your choices. Begin asking whether you are at peace with the person those choices are turning you into. Let that answer guide you. The better life you seek will not begin when everyone gives you permission. It begins when you finally realize that your own honest awareness is enough. Stop waiting to be chosen, approved, or released. Open the door yourself and walk toward the life that has been waiting for you. You still have value when you are resting. You still matter when you are not solving anyone's problems. You are worthy even when you are not useful to someone else. This truth may feel unfamiliar if you were only appreciated when you were giving. Begin learning to value yourself for who you are, not only for what you do. Treat your time with respect. Protect your attention. Care for your body. Keep your promises to yourself. Spend time building goals that belong to you. Your life should not remain empty simply because you spent so much of it supporting other people. You are allowed to have your own direction. A better life begins when you stop organizing your future around someone else's moods, needs, and approval. It begins when you ask what kind of life feels peaceful, meaningful, and honest to you. Perhaps you want a calmer home, healthier relationships, stronger habits, meaningful work, or deeper spiritual growth. These desires are not selfish. They are signs that your life is calling you back. Do not wait for the perfect moment to begin. Start with small choices. Wake up and give yourself a few quiet minutes. Stop checking on people who keep reopening your wounds. Complete one task that supports your future. Every small action tells your mind that you are no longer leaving yourself behind. Healing is built through these quiet decisions. It is built when you do not send the message you know will bring more confusion. It is built when you rest instead of proving how much you can carry. It is built when you say no clearly and do not spend the next hour feeling guilty. You will not always choose perfectly. Old patterns may return. You may over-explain, ignore a warning sign, or give another chance that you later regret. Do not use these moments to attack yourself. Awareness gives you the ability to choose again. Progress does not mean you never fall into an old pattern. It means you recognize it sooner and return to yourself more quickly. Be patient with the person you are becoming. The version of you that abandoned itself was not foolish. That version was afraid. It wanted love, safety, and belonging. It believed that holding on was the only way to avoid being alone. Do not hate your past self. Offer that version compassion. They did the best they could with the understanding they had. Now you know something different. You know that being left by someone else is painful, but leaving yourself is even more damaging. When another person leaves, you can grieve and heal. But when you constantly abandon your own truth, you lose your sense of identity, confidence, and inner safety. This is why choosing yourself matters. It is not only about ending one relationship, it is about ending the pattern of treating your own needs as less important than everyone else's. It is about becoming someone who listens inwardly before saying yes, someone who notices disrespect before making excuses, someone who values peace more than temporary attention. This change may cost you certain relationships. Some people will not like the new version of you. They may say that you have changed, become distant, or started thinking only about yourself. Let them speak. Sometimes people criticize your growth because they can no longer benefit from your lack of boundaries. They may miss the version of you who never said no, always returned, and accepted every excuse. You do not need to become that person again to prove that you are good. Your goodness is not measured by how much pain you can tolerate. It is possible to be kind and still walk away. It is possible to love and still create distance. It is possible to forgive and still choose a different future. You do not owe unlimited access to anyone. The people who truly care for you may not always agree with your choices, but they will respect your humanity. They will understand that you have limits, feelings, and a life beyond the relationship. Healthy people do not require you to disappear. They allow you to remain whole. As you heal, you may begin noticing that peace feels different from the intense emotions you once called love. Peace may feel quiet, simple, and less dramatic. At first, this calmness may seem unfamiliar. Do not mistake calm love for boring love. If you became used to inconsistency, anxiety may have felt like excitement. Waiting for a message may have felt like passion. Repeated conflict followed by temporary affection may have felt like deep connection. But love does not need to keep hurting you in order to feel powerful. The healthiest relationships often feel steady. You know where you stand. You do not need to decode every message, fear every silence, or constantly prove that you deserve care. Choose consistency over intensity. Choose actions over promises. Choose people who bring clarity instead of confusion. Most importantly, become this kind of person for yourself. Be consistent with your own needs. Follow through on your boundaries. Speak honestly. Stop promising yourself change and returning to the same pain. Your relationship with yourself becomes the foundation of every other relationship. When you trust yourself, you no longer feel desperate to control whether others stay. You know that even if someone leaves, you will remain present with yourself. This inner trust is one of the greatest forms of freedom. You will still love people, you will still care, give, and connect. But you will no longer hand over your entire identity. You will love from wholeness, not from fear. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, and non-attachment does not mean refusing connection. It means understanding that everything changes and that your peace cannot depend entirely on one person remaining exactly as you want. People may come and go, relationships may begin and end, life may change without warning. Your strength comes from staying connected to your values through these changes. You can feel sadness without believing that life is over. You can experience rejection without deciding that you are worthless. You can lose someone without losing yourself. This is the peace you are learning to build. A better life does not mean that no one will ever hurt you again. It means that when pain comes, you will not add to it by betraying yourself. You will not chase someone who has clearly chosen distance. You will not beg for basic respect. You will not remain in confusion for years simply because you are afraid to begin again. You will recognize that an ending can be painful and still be necessary. Some doors close because your old life can no longer carry the person you are becoming. Do not keep reopening those doors simply because the future feels uncertain. You already know what is behind you. Give yourself the chance to discover what lies ahead. The emptiness you feel now will not remain empty forever. Slowly, it will become space for new habits, meaningful goals, peaceful mornings, and healthier people. It will become space for your own voice, which may have been buried beneath everyone else's demands. Listen to that voice. It may tell you to rest. It may tell you to leave. It may tell you to create, learn, grow, or begin again. Do not silence it this time. Your inner truth may not shout. It often speaks through discomfort, exhaustion, and the quiet feeling that something is no longer right. Respect those signals. They are not weakness. They are awareness. You do not need to know exactly what your entire future will look like. You only need enough courage to take the next honest step. That step may be a boundary, a conversation, a period of distance, or the decision to finally stop returning. Take it with patience. You are not behind. You are not too damaged. You have not missed your chance to create a better life. Every moment of awareness is a new beginning. The past explains how you arrived here, but it does not control where you must go next. Your old choices do not have to become your permanent identity. You can learn new ways of loving. You can build healthier standards. You can become comfortable with your own company and still remain open to meaningful relationships. You can begin again without pretending that the past never happened. Carry the wisdom and release the shame. Your pain has already taken enough from you. Do not allow it to take your future by turning into bitterness, self-hatred, or fear of every new connection. Become wiser, not colder. Let the experience teach you what love should never require. Let it show you where you need boundaries, self-trust, and deeper awareness. Then move forward with your heart still open, but your eyes clear. You are allowed to believe in love again. You are simply no longer required to call suffering love. The better life you want will not be built through one dramatic moment. It will be built each day you choose not to betray your truth. It will be built when you stop returning to what repeatedly breaks you. It will be built when you give your energy to your health, purpose, and peace. It will be built when you no longer need another person's approval before believing that your feelings matter. One day, you will look back and realize that losing certain people was not the end of your life. It was the end of a version of you that kept disappearing to make others stay. You will understand that the silence after letting go was not punishment. It was the first time your own voice had enough space to be heard. You will realize that choosing yourself did not make you selfish. It made you honest. It helped you stop using love as a reason to tolerate what was destroying you. It taught you that compassion and boundaries can exist together. You will become grateful that you finally stopped waiting for someone else to save you from a life that required your own courage to change. Do not wait until you feel completely fearless. Choose yourself while you are still afraid. Protect your peace while you are still learning. Walk away if necessary, even if your heart needs time to follow. Courage does not always feel strong. Sometimes courage is simply the quiet decision not to abandon yourself again. Let people misunderstand you. Let them feel disappointed. Let them believe the version of the story that makes sense to them. You do not need to spend your life proving your truth. Live it. Build a future that reflects your values. Create relationships where you can remain whole. Protect your mind from people and habits that keep pulling you back into old suffering. Give your life the same loyalty you once gave to everyone else. You have offered patience, forgiveness, understanding, and endless chances to others. Now offer some of that compassion to yourself. Forgive yourself for staying too long. Forgive yourself for ignoring what you already knew. Forgive yourself for believing that suffering was the price of love. You are learning. Now you can choose differently. Choose the people who choose you clearly. Choose the habits that strengthen you. Choose the environments that calm your mind. Choose rest when you are tired, honesty when you are hurting, and distance when closeness becomes harmful. Choose yourself, not because you are more important than everyone else, but because you are also important. Your needs matter. Your peace matters. Your time matters. Your future matters. You do not need to become harder. You only need to stop treating yourself as someone who can always be sacrificed. Let go of the people you can no longer keep without losing yourself. Release them without hatred, and release yourself without guilt. Carry gratitude for what was good, wisdom from what was painful, and courage for what comes next. You are not walking away from love. You are walking away from the belief that love requires your disappearance. You are returning to your own life. You are returning to the person who waited quietly each time you chose everyone else. That person is still there, ready to be heard, protected, and valued. Do not leave them again. The better life you have been waiting for does not begin when everyone finally understands you, apologizes, or chooses you. It begins when you stop abandoning yourself. It begins when you let go with wisdom, choose yourself with compassion, and step forward with the quiet belief that your life can still become peaceful, meaningful, and completely your own.